Streaming live now on News8000.com. You're watching WKBT La Crosse. This is News 8 Now at noon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for News 8 Now at noon. I'm Alexandra Carter. Testimony continuing in Mankato as day 8 of Adam Fravel's murder trial is underway. An agent from the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension testified they transferred electronics, bedding, clothing, and DNA samples to the Bureau. He says he also moved items including clothing, hair ties, and a sexual assault kit from the medical examiner to Mayo Clinic for autopsy. Days after Kingsbury went missing, the agent said he searched her and Fravel's home, finding duct tape, which he said was not seized as its involvement wasn't known yet. And if you're looking to early vote today, that continues across the Badger State. La Crosse residents can vote at City Hall from 8:30 to 4 or at the Southside Neighborhood Center from 1 to 6. If you live in Onalaska, you can head to the city clerk's office from 8 to 4.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back. We are holding on to windy and gusty conditions this afternoon, and warming, of course. We're going to be seeing that go pretty much throughout the day and into the next couple of days. Take a look at what I've got going on for you. As we see, these winds are going to continue to pick up for us, and we're going to be holding on to conditions that are going to be possible potential record-breaking numbers. We'll also see that not only in the daytime, but possibly in the overnight hours as well for your warming lows. In fact, we'll see a wet and very gusty Wednesday as well. Winds are going to be up to at least 30 to 40 miles per hour. That'll begin going into Tuesday. You can see the winds right now, though, holding on steady at about 16 miles per hour here to about 18 in Eau Claire. Once we get into it, the wind directions for the gusts will continue to pick up as well, ramping up in Eau Claire already at 25 miles per hour. As we go through the day, we'll see winds up to at least 26 to 27 miles per hour to finish out your day, with highs right now, current temperatures right now, widespread in the 60s, but we do expect some 70s to work into your forecast. Local temperatures right now are at least 3 to about 7 degrees to 9 degrees warmer than you can see right there. There's a look at your highs, though. Those widespread low 70s getting up to the upper 60s well up to the north of I-94. When I come back, I'll have a little bit more about your forecast coming on your way. Stick around.
All right, Art, we will see you then. As Election Day approaches, congressional candidate Rebecca Cook met with Vote for Common Good this morning at the Root Note. The organization is touring the state of Wisconsin, engaging Christian voters, discussing the importance of voting your values. Cook emphasizes more candidates should be willing to work with people outside their party and not let parties divide people or values.
And so it's important that we're talking to people from all different faith backgrounds, in particular Christian voters that, you know, the far right, I think, has really worked to try to co-opt over time. And so I think it's really important for us to be showing, like, I'm also a Christian woman. These are the values that I believe in.
The program continues with a rally and film event tonight in Eau Claire. With winter just around the corner, the La Crosse County Highway Department is working to protect local waterways. At today's SaltWise Equipment Open House, maintenance crews learned that just 1 teaspoon of road salt can make 5 gallons of water toxic for freshwater organisms. Local municipalities shared strategies and reviewed new equipment to help reduce salt use this season. With just over a week to go now until Election Day, a new CBS News poll shows the 2 presidential candidates tied in the battleground states. A joke made by a comedian at last night's Trump rally is sparking backlash and could have an impact among Latino voters. Natalie Brand has those details.
In Philadelphia Monday, Democrats and Latino leaders slammed former President Donald Trump for comments made by a speaker at his Madison Square Garden rally Sunday.
The truth is that those insults are in line with the trajectory of insults to Puerto Ricans by Donald Trump himself.
The backlash is over this controversial joke from comedian Tony Hinchcliffe.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
The Trump campaign said the remarks do not reflect the former president's views, but the damage may have been done. Less than 2 hours later, Puerto Rican musical superstar Bad Bunny reshared a video from Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign to his nearly 46 million followers.
I will never forget what Donald Trump did and what he did not do when Puerto Rico needed a caring and a competent leader.
The controversy is threatening to overshadow Trump's closing arguments, capping off the star-studded event at one of the world's most famous arenas.
We will have the strongest economy, the most secure borders, the safest cities, the most powerful military.
Vice President Harris spent Sunday in Philadelphia courting Black and Latino voters. With an estimated 580,000 Latino voters in the most coveted battleground state, they could be the deciding factor in a race that polls show is neck and neck. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
Tomorrow, Trump is set to campaign in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a city with a large population of Puerto Rican residents. Also tomorrow, Harris will lay out her closing arguments at the Ellipse in Washington. That's the same place Trump made his January 6th speech before the insurrection. The Quarter Pounder returning to McDonald's menus this week. Coming up, the fast food chain giant getting the all clear after that E. coli outbreak. We'll have the update you need to hear before you head out for lunch coming up.
Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Eric Hovde owns a $3 billion California bank. That's right, he owns it.
And a $7 million mansion on the beach.
Eric Hovde proposed $4 trillion in new tax breaks for rich guys just like him.
And to pay for it, Hovde would cut Social Security by 28%.
Slash Medicare 25%.
And veterans benefits 40%.
Outrageous. Now we know what's wrong with Eric Hovde. This guy is not for us.
25 years as a police officer, I'm trained to spot a lie when I see one.
Take it from me, these ads against Rebecca Cook are false.
They're not worth the special interest dollars that are funding them.
Rebecca's one of us.
She comes from a family of first responders and veterans.
She's a strong supporter of more funding for law enforcement.
She'd never defund the police.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message because I'll always put safety first.
And Derek Van Orden just puts himself first.
My husband and I were elated to find out that we would be having another baby. But after many tests, my doctors agreed that we had to terminate the pregnancy. It was the worst day of my life. You should know that Eric Hovde supports laws that stop me and my doctor from making that decision. And that's a ban with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. It's a ban that could turn doctors into criminals. He opposes abortion, period.
Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it.
He did it.
It was pretty devastating.
He is bragging about the rights that he stole from American women.
And Trump is promising to do more.
In Project 2025,
they are restricting birth control,
tracking pregnant women, enforcing a nationwide abortion ban. The government should get out of my business.
Stay out of my business.
That's not the government's business.
In America, women make their own decisions.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Derek Van Orden's in trouble, and the special interests are bailing him out. Just look at who's paying for all these ads. Big banks, insurance companies, drug companies. Because Washington insiders want to restrict health care access and let insurers deny people with pre-existing conditions. Millions would lose coverage. Wisconsin's fed up with Van Orden and Washington insiders. We want leaders who will fight for us.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message.
Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back. In your Money Watch report, McDonald's announcing the Quarter Pounder will be back on the menu sometime this week. The fast food giant said testing found there was no E. coli present in the company's beef patties. Federal regulators believe an E. coli outbreak that has sickened at least 75 people, killing one, could be linked to the slivered onions on the product. McDonald's says it has stopped using those onions from the facility indefinitely. And Venom, The Last Dance, bounding to the top of the weekend box office, though it earned a weaker than expected $51 million domestically. Smile 2 coming in second with just over $9 million, and Conclave debuting third, earning a projected $6.5 million. Today, first responders can head to Krispy Kreme for a free small coffee and donut to mark First Responders Day. There's no purchase necessary for the deal, which is limited to one per person. That wraps up your afternoon consumer news. As we head to break, here's a live look at the New York Stock Exchange. Stay with us. More news is next.
Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Let's talk about Rebecca Cook. She's a political operative. She's worked for defund the police radicals across this country.
Cook spent millions getting Mandela Barnes elected, the most anti-law enforcement candidate in Wisconsin's history.
You remember Barnes, the guy who said reducing prison populations was sexy?
Defund the police radicals make it harder for us to keep you safe.
That's why we can't support Rebecca Cook, because she'll never support us.
Derek Van Orden, and I approve this message.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Eric Hovde owns a $3 billion California bank. That's right, he owns it.
And a $7 million mansion on the beach.
Eric Hovde proposed $4 trillion in new tax breaks for rich guys just like him.
And to pay for it, Hovde would cut Social Security by 28%.
Slash Medicare 25%.
And veterans benefits 40%.
Outrageous. Now we know what's wrong with Eric Hovde. This guy is not for us.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing. Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
In your medical news, political polarization can be bad for your health, according to a new study. That study found people who are politically polarized in either direction are more likely to mistrust doctors and science, as well as block legislation and policies aimed at keeping Americans healthy. They also tend to have worse physical and mental health. The study also noted large gaps in distancing and vaccination rates between Democrats and Republicans during the COVID-19 pandemic. The weight loss drug Ozempic could also help treat chronic kidney disease. A study found the active ingredient, semaglutide, decreased kidney inflammation and blood pressure in kidney disease patients by about 1/3. More research is needed to see if the effects last long term. And men who are stereotypically masculine are less likely to address their heart conditions or take necessary medications. That from a study that found social pressures are leading some men to avoid dealing with their cardiovascular health. It's unclear whether they are downplaying their diagnoses or not getting screened in the first place. Those were some of the day's top health headlines. As we take a live look outside from CityCam 8, Art is in next with our forecast.
Who does Derek Van Orden think he is? This guy who reportedly shouted at kids in the U.S. Capitol? I don't give a who you are. I'm a congressman.
Derek Van Orden doesn't care about making our lives better. He'd make Wisconsinites pay just to give huge tax cuts to corporations and the wealthy. Van Orden even sides with extremists who tried to cut Social Security. Wisconsin deserves better, and Derek Van Orden does not belong in Congress.
HMP is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
I am a strong believer in pro-life. I am totally opposed to abortion.
Eric Hovde supports abortion bans. Republican extremists in the Senate already want to ban abortion nationwide. No exceptions for rape or incest. They want more anti-abortion judges. And to even make birth control and IVF illegal.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
We can't trust Eric Hovde.
Washington is corrupt. Senator Baldwin says she fights against Wall Street, and yet she lives with a Wall Street executive and gets all this money from Wall Street. She says she's standing up to Big Pharma and Big Tech, but look at the money she rakes in from Big Pharma, Big Tech, and their executives. Senator Baldwin doesn't work for you, she works for them. I'm Eric Hovde, I approve this message. I'm not taking their special interest money. I'll only work for you.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Oh, please. Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. She made her living trying to elect Democrat extremists. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. No wonder extremists like AOC are spending big bucks to elect liberals like Cook. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Under Kamala, there's been a big hike in Medicare premiums. Social Security benefits don't go far with Kamala's inflation slamming seniors. Now Kamala wants struggling seniors to pay more Social Security taxes, while she gives Medicare and Social Security to illegals. That will doom Medicare. President Trump will make sure no one cuts Medicare or Social Security. Trump lowered Medicare premiums, and he'll end the tax on Social Security.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Is it time for new windows or doors? Contact the company who has done the research for you. The best windows and doors installed by the best people. Clear Choice Window and Home Solutions.
The News 8 Plus app. Local news on your time.
Well, good afternoon to you. Welcome back. And as you can see out there, you can see some few cirrus clouds kind of working through the area. Brisk conditions out there right about now. Temperatures holding on to 67 degrees by the 1 o'clock hour, turning to 70 by at least 3 o'clock. Upper 60s as you go into the 5 o'clock hour with partly cloudy skies. And then we increase the clouds on you. I showed you that earlier this morning. As you get into it now, you're going to be looking at these winds to pick up at least up to 25 miles per hour. You can see some locations will even push that even farther as we go through the day. La Crosse is going to be looking at conditions to be at least up to 25 to 27 miles per hour, possibly picking up as we go deeper into the evening hours. But you're seeing some of the winds are going to back off coming up from the southeast. That being said, we roll right into how this all looks. You have this cloud cover that's kind of wisping by right now. That's what you're experiencing as we go in the next few hours. Then we increase the clouds as we finish out the afternoon, going into 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock with mostly cloudy skies on the way for us, with temperatures still holding on to the 70s. Then we begin to back off, getting into 7 o'clock. We're also holding on to conditions in the middle 60s for you. And then eventually, by the time we get into 9 o'clock, going to 10 o'clock, you're looking at conditions to be just starting to get a little bit cool. All right, so what's happening? This huge ridge of high pressure continues to build in now. Eventually, it's going to drop in on us. In fact, we're going to be holding on to those temperatures warming up for tomorrow as well. Dry conditions coming out of the Gulf, and that continues to extend up to us as well, with a little weak humidity kind of falling short just once you get to somewhere around New York. But we're still getting some of that heat still holding on to our locations, enough to get us all the way into above seasonal average temperatures to finish out the work week. I should say going into the next couple of days, then we go back to seasonal average temperatures, which means, of course, with all that wind and, of course, the heat, that adds into fire danger as we have this continuing on up to high fire danger still holding on for La Crosse. In fact, we'll also be seeing as we roll right into it the possibility there's snow coming out of portions of Canada, and eventually this moisture coming out from the west is going to continue to push closer to us. We get into Tuesday with a slight chance of rainfall going into the overnight hours. Then once we get deeper into Wednesday, most of that rainfall begins to collapse getting into the northwestern portion of the Wisconsin, then getting down to La Crosse once we get again into the afternoon. Then once we go deeper into the evening, well, these winds are going to start to pick up even more so, and we're going to see a little thunderstorm activity, maybe some moderate conditions to thunderstorm activity starting to work closer to us as we go into it. Most of it starts to sneak a little bit more to the east as it continues on, and as you look a little bit farther up to the north, up by I-94, well up above I-94, snow is beginning to be a part of the forecast. You've seen the 70s widespread there with some upper 60s in your forecast here as well. As we take it into the next couple of days, it's going to be warmer. Take a look at this as we go through daylight saving time is on the way. You're also going to be seeing the possibility of conditions for November 3rd working into the forecast where you turn the clocks back an hour. So we gain an hour of sleep. You're talking about 6:44 in the morning, and then sunset is about 4:51, and that means more morning light and less in the evening. We also have the winter solstice working into the forecast where you have December 21st, where you're picking up again the shortest day, and that is on again as we roll right into the forecast. You're looking at conditions to play out like this going into 70s and 80s. We'll pick up more of these as we go right into Wednesday, with winds continuing through Thursday. Dry on Friday with more rainfall on the way for your weekend.
All right, we've got a tank just in time for trick-or-treating, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit. There's also potential for a slight chance of thunderstorm activity coming in for that Wednesday. So bear in mind that there's a possibility of maybe a weak severe weather forecast.
All right, we know you'll be tracking it for us. A Wonka-worthy surprise at a Timothée Chalamet look-alike contest. How the star himself crashed the party, we'll show you next.
They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. Why hasn't she done it?
For years, radical Kamala Harris created the border crisis. Thousands of accused murderers, rapists, even terrorists pour in. Each crime they commit makes American victims. Innocent victims of Kamala's open border agenda. They were bludgeoned, raped, strangled, stabbed, shot, and murdered. Kamala created the border crisis. She won't fix it now. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Politics these days stinks. Too much hot air, and you know what else. But I'm no stranger to putting in a hard day's work and getting the job done. I have a history of bipartisan accomplishments. It's a hard job, but I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I can reach across the aisle and pass good bills just as easily as I can walk across the barnyard with my shovel. So whether it's doing chores on the farm or passing bills in Madison, I'm Steve Doyle, and I'm ready to get back to work for you.
25 years as a police officer, I'm trained to spot a lie when I see one.
Take it from me, these ads against Rebecca Cook are false.
They're not worth the special interest dollars that are funding them.
Rebecca's one of us.
She comes from a family of first responders and veterans.
She's a strong supporter of more funding for law enforcement.
She'd never defund the police.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message because I'll always put safety first.
And Derek Van Orden just puts himself first.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Oh, please. Don't be fooled by Rebecca Cook. She made her living trying to elect Democrat extremists. Cook proudly supported radicals who want to defund police, end cash bail, and throw open the border. No wonder extremists like AOC are spending big bucks to elect liberals like Cook. Rebecca Cook, just another liberal trying to fool you. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Tammy Baldwin has our back. Tammy broke the law to make sure American projects are made with American iron and steel.
Thanks to Tammy Baldwin, my daughter's inhaler is now only $35 a month.
Tammy's Dairy Business Innovation Act has helped us hire more workers.
Tammy Baldwin's leading the charge to restore Roe v. Wade.
Tammy Baldwin fought like hell to save my retirement.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
To have someone in Washington that's got your back, oh man, that's gold.
Derek Van Orden's in trouble, and the special interests are bailing him out. Just look at who's paying for all these ads. Big banks, insurance companies, drug companies. Because Washington insiders want to restrict health care access and let insurers deny people with pre-existing conditions. Millions would lose coverage. Wisconsin's fed up with Van Orden and Washington insiders. We want leaders who will fight for us.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message.
A Timothée Chalamet lookalike competition drew hundreds of spectators to Washington Square Park, including the actor himself. He showed up unexpectedly to meet some of his doppelgangers and posed for photos with the lookalikes. The winning entrant was Miles Mitchell, who arrived in a purple Willy Wonka outfit. The event was organized without official permission, and immediately after it started, police issued a dispersal order and slapped organizers with a $500 fine. Stay with us. We'll have one more check of your forecast when we come back.
What would a Trump second term look like? It's all laid out in his Project 2025 agenda. He'd let insurance companies deny coverage for pre-existing conditions, cut Social Security and Medicare, and give tax cuts to billionaires, while the middle class pays the price with lower income and higher costs. Because for Trump, it's all about getting unchecked power while you pay the price. Donald Trump, more unhinged, unstable, and unchecked.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Derek Van Orden's in trouble, and the special interests are bailing him out. Just look at who's paying for all these ads. Big banks, insurance companies, drug companies. Because Washington insiders want to restrict health care access and let insurers deny people with pre-existing conditions. Millions would lose coverage. Wisconsin's fed up with Van Orden and Washington insiders. We want leaders who will fight for us.
I'm Rebecca Cook, and I approve this message.
My husband and I were elated to find out that we would be having another baby. But after many tests, my doctors agreed that we had to terminate the pregnancy. It was the worst day of my life. You should know that Eric Hovde supports laws that stop me and my doctor from making that decision. And that's a ban with no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. It's a ban that could turn doctors into criminals. He opposes abortion, period.
Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Kamala wouldn't change a thing? Their weakness invited wars, welfare for illegals, while Americans struggle. Now Kamala wants higher taxes on top of higher prices. We can't afford 4 more years of Kamala.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The First Warn Weather app. Download it today.
We have, again, a possibility of a slight risk for severe weather. That's just a marginal risk for now. As we get into it here, we'll go into 70s and 80s for the next couple of days. Warmer conditions, of course, but we cool you down on Thursday, my friend. And then we have a break on Friday with rainfall returning for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
All right, so it could be a little chilly out there, trick-or-treating.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll be watching for your forecast as it gets closer, for sure. Get those warm costumes out. Thank you, Art, and thank you for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow.